Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now, breaking news from Moscow. Russia has finally admitted that some jobs are too complicated for artificial intelligence, like, being a corrupt puppet-like member of their parliament. Now, that's Russia's parliament speaker Vyacheslav Volodin, and here he is arguing the case for why he and his Duma friends shouldn't all be fired.
Все те, кто сторонники развития технологий, цифровых IT-технологий, должны понимать, безусловно, должен быть прогресс, и надо использовать все новшества, возможности, которые дают нам цифровые технологии. Ну вот, смотрите, конкретный пример. Вот, коллеги, нет возможности у сигнальщика выступить, потому что машина его проигнорировала. А у нас нет закона, который регулирует отношения машины, робота и человека. В данном случае, если у президиума совести нет, а у машины нет, они могут не заметить сигнальщикова. Мы с вами должны сделать единственное: не отдавать принятие решений, где совесть, где ответственность должны быть во главе.
Volodin here insists that AI could never replace Russian deputies. Why? Because, he says, AI has no conscience. Ironic, considering the consciousness which, with Moscow, is perpetuating its war in Ukraine. Anyhow, funny thing, according to polls, most Russians actually would prefer to replace their deputies with AI, probably because the bots wouldn't take bribes. So, nah, Russian MPs won't be replaced by robots anytime soon. But if we're being honest, if your main job is rubber stamping whatever the Kremlin says, even a monkey with a tablet could do it, let alone artificial intelligence. Now, here's a new edition of Kremlin election engineering. I guess when rigging an election in your own country becomes boring, you can always rent voters abroad. Moldovan police have opened an investigation after reports surfaced that buses full of Moldovan citizens were moved from Russia into Belarus, presumably so they could cast ballots at a polling station in Minsk. Now, just to be clear, this is against Moldovan law, which forbids organized transportation of voters to influence outcomes. This isn't enabling legitimate diaspora voting, it's manufacturing votes. So if any Moldovans out there are watching, heads up, if someone offers you a free bus ticket to Minsk to fulfill your patriotic duty, run. Our regular viewers know that we were going to have to talk about this one. Sergei Lavrov went to the United Nations, and he delivered a greatest hits playlist of Russian propaganda. So let's break these fakes, track by track. First up, the alleged persecuted Russian speakers in Ukraine.
Arabic is not banned in Israel, and Hebrew is not banned in Arab countries and Iran, but Russian is banned in Ukraine.
Now, this one's been on repeat since 2014. According to Moscow, Ukraine is hellscape for Russian speakers. Reality check: Ukraine is one of the most bilingual countries in Europe. In fact, President Volodymyr Zelensky himself spent most of his life speaking Russian. Post-2022 invasion, restrictions have increased on Russian media, books, and cultural imports to promote de-Russification, but speaking Russian isn't illegal by any means. Meanwhile, where do Russian speakers actually get silenced? Try Belarus, try Russia itself, where independent media in any language is stamped out. So if Lavrov's worried about protecting Russian speakers, maybe he should start with, Russia. Next up, the classic Ukrainian Nazi trope. I know it's an old one, but you'll never guess which other propaganda theme Sergei Lavrov will tie to this fake story.
Россия отстаивает свои законные интересы людей, которых нацисты в Киеве после захвата власти через госпереворот объявили террористами, нелюдями, существами, чьих детей они грозились устами Порошенко сгноить в подвалах, пока дети украинской элиты будут ездить на красивых машинах, ходить в школы и есть конфеты. Надо забыть про это.
Somehow you guessed that he would weave the Maidan coup together with the dehumanization of Ukrainians and end up pitting the society against the politicians and their children. Then, well, perhaps you've been ghostwriting the Kremlin handbook. Deny, disinform, diminish. And finally, the creme de la creme, the Ballad of Innocence titled Russia Never Targets Civilians. According to Lavrov, every Russian missile or drone is surgically precise, aimed only at the military. Now tell that to the residents of Odessa, Kharkiv, or Lviv whose power grids have been flattened. And tell it to Ukrainians shivering through winters because Moscow deliberately bombed heating and water facilities.
Мы никогда не атакуем гражданские объекты. Инциденты случаются, но мы никогда и не ведем прицельный огонь по ним, и мы никогда не направляем наши беспилотники или ракеты по государствам, которые расположены вот в Европе, и из членов Евросоюза, и стран Североатлантического альянса. И еще раз, если бы поляки действительно хотели разобраться в этом, мы предложили встречу, немедленно предложили встречу. Но никто никогда факты не хочет обсуждать. Примеров, когда нас обвиняли, а потом оказывалось, что это украинцы ударили и по рынку, и по родильному дому, и многие другие примеры. Нам они хорошо известны.
If Russia truly didn't target civilians, then why does every single Ukrainian city have bomb shelters and blackout drills? Why are schools being rebuilt with underground classrooms? That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because civilians are targets. Lavrov's UN performance was propaganda karaoke, with the same old lyrics to a worn-out song. No matter how many times Russia presses repeat, the facts don't change. All right, let's change tracks before we finish and briefly go to the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko. He wanted to remind us of another false narrative, the mythical peace deal Ukraine could have taken. According to this guy, Kyiv could have signed a favorable agreement and this whole messy war would have been over. Sounds generous, right? Well, let's hear how he argued that.
Если Кремль ударит по Банковой, что там останется? Поэтому Владимиру Александровичу надо успокоиться. Есть на столе хорошее предложение. Вот мы с президентом Путиным обсуждали, я не стану о них говорить. Это президент сам скажет. Хорошее предложение. Предложение по Украине, которые на Аляске в том числе были услышаны Дональдом Трампом, увезены в Вашингтон для того, чтобы подумать и обсудить. Очень хорошее предложение. Если украинцы не пойдут на эти предложения, это будет то, что было в начале СВО. Это будет еще хуже, они потеряют Украину. Тогда надо было остановиться. Нет, не остановились, потеряли Восток. Сейчас не остановятся. С моей точки зрения, человека глубоко погруженного в эту ситуацию, они потеряют всю Украину.
Just to be clear, what Lukashenko here calls a good deal means surrender your land, your sovereignty, your future. Now let's be clear, no Ukrainian government can sign away its territory and survive politically. The Ukrainian public won't allow it. And even if Kyiv had given in, Russia has shown again and again that it doesn't keep deals. So no, Ukraine did not miss a good deal, it dodged a trap. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.